This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Abam. We continue in Mishna Berura, Daf Hashavua. Good to see everybody. We actually continued yesterday, so we're forging ahead now in Siman Yudalid. We're in the middle of Seif Gimel. Siman Yudalid, Seif Gimel. The Mechaber said that if you borrow a talis from your friend that doesn't have tzitzis in it, so you're patur from putting tzitzis for 30 days, because there's an idea that something that is borrowed, you don't own. And it says, Al arba kanfos kisuscha, on the four corners of your garment. This is not your garment, it's someone else's garment. So again, this is a garment that you borrowed, so you don't have to put tzitzis on it. After 30 days, it's chayiv midrabanan, and it looks like yours. Now, the Mishna Berura says someone who wants to put tzitzis on it is lo hifsid, because even though he's not chayiv, but it's like a woman who could be mekayim mitzvah saseh shazman grama. Now, I would have said that there's a very big difference between a woman being mekayim a mitzvah and this. Would you say that somebody who wants could put tzitzis on his container of milk? Well, I'm not chayiv, but I'm allowed to. It's rishus, I'm not mitzvah, but it's like a woman who's not mitzvah on a mitzvah saseh shazman grama. No, there's no such mitzvah. So if the Torah says kisuscha, and the Torah says it has to be your garment, then why would you be allowed to make a bracha? But that's what the Mishna Berura says. Now we're up to Sif Katan Yud Aleph, so we have to see further in the Ramah Mishna Berura. The Ramah says, "V'im hechzer tach shloshim," if you returned it within 30 days, v'chazor l'kachai ein mitzaref, and then you borrowed it again, it doesn't join up. Rakvino shloshim yom ritzufim. You're only chayiv midrabanan if it's 30 consecutive days. Sha'ala k'shim mitzuyetzes. However, if you borrowed the talis when there are already strings on it, mevarich aleha miyad, you make a bracha on it immediately. So if you borrowed a talis which is mitzuyetzes, then you make a bracha on it immediately, right away. So you borrowed someone's talis, you make a bracha on it. You're in shul, you don't have a talis, you borrowed someone's talis, you make a bracha on it. Says the Mishna Berura, mevarich aleha. V'yesh machmirin, there are those who are machmir v'soivrin, shaloi levarech elam kein nasan loy befeirush b'mataram nas lahachzir. Some are machmir. The Marshal and the Taz, they say at the end of the day, it's borrowed, and you can't make a bracha on it unless they gave it to you as a gift. Now, why would somebody give you their talis as a gift? Oh, they gave it as a matana manas lahachzer. But there are those who are machmir, that if you really borrow it, you don't make a bracha. Acharoi v'acharoinim. The Magen Avram, the Eliyah Rabbah, the Derech HaChaim, the Sha'ar Tzion says and others, Maskimim l'psaka Shulchan Aruch, they agree to Shulchan Aruch. V'atamhu, what's the reason? Ta'adaita dahachi heshilu lo shevarch aleh. He lent it to you with the mindset that you should be able to make a bracha. V'kivan she'yav shaloi levarach elam kein tiyah shaloi. Since it's impossible to make a bracha unless it's yours, havakilu nesano lo b'matana amanas lahachzer. It's akin to him giving it to you explicitly as a gift to return. Okay, so this is very interesting. He gave it to you as a loan. Now, something which is a loan, you're not chayiv in, because it says kesuscha. But it already had tzitzis on it, we presume that he gave it to you with the mindset that it's a matana menach zahachzer. Where else do we have such a phenomenon? We have it by lulav. On the first day, it has to be ulakachtem lachem. It has to be yours. So what if somebody lends it to you, and he didn't give it to you as a matana menach lahachzer? So in Siman Tafresh Nun Ches, Sif Katan Tes, the Mishna Berura brings two opinions if it's a matana menach lahachzer or not, and the Mishna Berura is not machriya. In Siman Tafresh Mem Tes, Sif Katan Tes Vav, he only brings the Magen Avram, that it's like you gave it to him as matana menach lahachzer. Now, why would we assume that the person giving it to you is so knowledgeable that he knows that in order for you to make a bracha, he has to give it to you and not lend it to you? The reason is we're not worried maybe the giver doesn't know. Rabbi Yitzchak Elchanan explains this is a pashat din, and you could rely on this. So presumably then, if you're borrowing it from an Am Ha'aretz, maybe you can rely on it, unless we say that it's not that everybody knows it, but he's giving it to you, so it's not that he knows the din. He's giving it to you to fulfill the mitzvah. So whatever is needed to fulfill the mitzvah is implicit in his kavanah. Okay, the Mishna Berura continues. L'charchila bevada yoser toiv levakish mehamasha shitom matam nasahachser v'loy likuva. L'charchila, it's definitely better to ask the person to give it to you matam nasahachser, and it's not makim. So this is very nageh. You go away for Shabbos, and you forgot your talis at home, and you're borrowing someone else's talis, and you're borrowing it to do a mitzvah. So you could rely on the stama. He's giving it to you as matam nasahachser. It's better to ask him to give it to you as matam nasahachser. So this is how I would say it. First of all, I'm learning Mishna Berura Daf Hashavua. Maybe you want to join our Shiur. It's 9 o'clock every day on Zoom. And then, and we just learned that it's better to ask the person to give it to you as a matana nasahachser. Okay. V'davka im shal mimeno talis hamyuchal l'mitzvah. This is only if you borrowed from him a talis designated for the mitzvah. Avlim hu beged ha'omed l'elvisha. But if it's really just a garment that is primed to be worn, v'ra kevan shepasuach ruba yosim b'tzitzis. And it just happens to be, since it's mostly open, they made tzitzis. Because it's chayv in tzitzis. But it's not something designated for the mitzvah. It's a shirt. It's a shirt. A shul's talis we're going to get to. We'll come to shul's talis. Because that's what's called talis shel shutvim. Because if you daven in a shul, and you pay membership, you have a chelek in it. If you don't pay membership, it's a different story. We'll see. We're going to see about a shul's talis. But this is only talking about if the talis is designated for a mitzvah, but not if it's a garment that happens to be chayv and tzitzis. V'chein imshal talis lalois l'Torah. If you borrow a talis to get an aliyah, or laver l'fnei ateva, or to daven, or laduchin, she'ein ela mishum kavod. You're not wearing it to mekayim the mitzvah. You're wearing it because you want, in order to go up to the tzibur, it's an inyan of kavod. Ein mevarchin alav. De'ulai haya ritzon l'ashil rak l'malbish l'chuv l'hakdus. Maybe he's not giving it to you to be mekayim the mitzvah, and that you should own it temporarily, but just as a garment. So pashtus is you don't make a bracha when you borrow a talis to do a hagba, to do a glila, to do a psicha. V'yesh cholkim mezeh. Again, there's talking about where you're borrowing it from an individual. V'yesh cholkim mezeh. There are those who argue about this. The Srilu they hold the b'chol gavnei mavarchin that you make a bracha under all circumstances. Al kein kasav b'derech hachayim. Therefore, in the Sefer Derech HaChaim, he writes, in all these cases, namely you borrowing a garment that's really miyuchad lilavisha, or you're borrowing something to go up for an aliyah, have in mind not to be kaina, kedei shelo yitztarech levarech l'kulayam, so you don't have to make a bracha according to everyone. Unless, again, you're borrowing a talis, you mekayim the mitzvah. What do you mean mincha on Shabbos also? I don't understand the question. Mincha on Shabbos. What? So that's what he's saying, that first of all, the person is probably only giving it to you mishum kavod, and it's better to have in mind not to be kainet, but no, you don't make a bracha. There are those who argue, the Mishna Berura says, it's better to have in mind not to be kainet. Now, comes the Mishna Berura, and he says this whole idea that you can't make a bracha on a talis that somebody lends to you. Again, if he's lending it to you because you forgot your talis at home, you don't have a talis to wear by Shacharis, So then we say Mistami is giving it to you as Matana Manasa Hachzer. Better to ask him Befeirosh. However, if he's giving it to you for an Aliyah, then according to many poskim you don't make a bracha. Better to have mine not to be koine. V'cholzeh b'talisa shel ish prati. This is a talis that belongs to an individual. Aval b'talisa shel kahal. But if it's a talis of the tzibur, ke'ein shalana mitzvah exists. It's one of those talisim laying around on the bima. Tzarech levarech alav lekulei alma. You have to make a bracha going to everyone. Afilu kishalov sharak laver lefnei ateva. Even if you're putting it on to be a chazan, oilalos the Torah. Mishum the talis shall call adaiti dahachi kanu metchila. The talis was bought for that purpose originally, namely shekol mi shaloi veishoy. So that anyone who wears it, shia shaloi, it should be his. Kamay be'esroig. By mashikasad ve'aralocha b'shem hashari Ephraim. Now, this is a very important qualification. This whole idea that when you're taking a talis for an aliyah or a kava, you don't make a bracha, and you have in mind, you don't make a bracha, that's if it's a talis of an individual, because he might be lending it to you. That you don't make a bracha because he might be lending it to you just for kavod. But if it's a talis of the kal, where you have to make a bracha according to everyone, even if you're just putting it on to get an aliyah, because it was purchased, that anyone who wears it, it should be his. Now, if you're going to make a bracha, you got to check it. What about, so you say, well, I'll have in mind not to be koinit. Like we said you could do if an individual lends it to you. So an individual lends it to you for an aliyah, have in mind not to be koinit. Could I do that with the talis of the shul? No, you can't do that. It doesn't help. The Mishna Berura says, the Mechaber says in Siman Tavkov Pei Aleph Sivkot and Vav, that's Hilchos Slichos, it's not going to help. So never take the talis of the kahal for an aliyah, because you're getting yourself or make a bracha. The thing is, you're going to have to check it. You hear this? If you get called up for an aliyah, it's much better take someone else's talis and have in mind not to be koined. But if they're going to give you the talis of the tzibur for any kavod, you must make a bracha, and it's not going to help not to be mechavein. That's the shita of the Mishna Berura. So now, Be'ezras Hashem, we will try to see this Bir Halacha tomorrow. Okay? We're going to hold it over here, and we're going to review and see the Bir Halacha tomorrow. Rabbi, have a wonderful day. Kol Tov. By the way, we started yesterday the Yisoid Hashavua Rabbi Yonah at 5 p.m. If anybody wants to join us, it's very powerful limud before the Yom Naram. Be'ezras Hashem, tonight we're finishing Masechta Yevamos at 9:15 p.m. Next week we start Ksubos. If anybody wants to join us, usually the Shiur is Monday and Tuesday evening. Next week it may be Sunday and Monday evening, as well as the week after, the week of Rosh Hashanah. Okay, Mar Rabbi Say, Bracha V'Atzlacha, Kol Tov.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.